Tom Thumb's Travels. There was once a tailor who had a son no higher than a thumb, so he was called Tom Thumb. Notwithstanding his small size, he had plenty of spirit, and one day he said to his father, "Father, go out into the world. I must and will." "Very well, my son," said the old man, and taking a long darning needle, he put a knob of sealing wax on the end, saying, "Here is a sword to take with you on your journey." Now the little tailor wanted to have one more meal first, and so he trotted into the kitchen to see what sort of a farewell feast his mother had cooked for him. It was all ready, and the dish was standing on the hearth. Then said he, "Mother, what is the fare today?" "You can see for yourself," said the mother. Then Tom Thumb ran to the hearth and peeped into the dish. But as he stretched his neck too far over it, the steam caught him and carried him up the chimney. For a time he floated with the steam about in the air, but at last he sank down to the ground. Then the little tailor found himself out in the wide world, and he wandered about and finally engaged himself to a master tailor, but the food was not good enough for him. "Mistress," said Tom Thumb, "if you do not give us better victuals, I shall go out early in the morning and write with a piece of chalk on the house door, 'Plenty of potatoes to eat, but little meat.' So goodbye, Mr. Potato." "What are you after, Grasshopper?" said the mistress, and growing angry she seized a piece of rag to beat him off. But he crept underneath her thimble, and then peeped at her, and put his tongue out at her. She took up the thimble, and would have seized him, but he hopped among the rags, and as the mistress turned them over to find him, he stepped into a crack in the table. "Hee hee, mistress!" cried he, sticking out his head, and when she was just going to grasp him, he jumped into the table drawer. But in the end she caught him and drove him out of the house. So he wandered on until he came to a great wood, and there he met a gang of robbers that were going to rob the king's treasury. When they saw the little tailor, they thought to themselves, "Such a little fellow might easily creep through a keyhole and serve instead of a picklock." "Holloa!" cried one, "you giant Goliath, will you come with us to the treasure chamber? You can slip in and then throw us out the money." Tom Thumb considered a little, but at last he consented, and went with them to the treasure chamber. Then he looked all over the doors above and below, but there was no crack to be seen. At last he found one broad enough to let him pass, and he was getting through when one of the sentinels that stood before the door saw him, and said to the other, "See what an ugly spider is crawling there. I will put an end to him." "Let the poor creature alone," said the other. "It has done you no harm."